So the various tunnels in the mangrove mud of crabs and mud lobsters tends to help the mangrove trees themselves. It allows air and oxygen to get down to the roots, which normally in this mangrove mud, the mangrove mud is so dense that it doesn't permit gaseous exchange, and that's why mangroves have so many breathing roots.
Right.
For the gaseous exchange. So crabs and mud lobsters do a good service to the mangrove trees. So this is the mound of the mud lobster. Lives entirely underground, digs tunnels, and is pushed up this new patch of clay-like earth here. That's probably from yesterday. And it just filters through the nutritious mud. Very good bush tucker food, but not always easy to catch. Look, Bill, here's some mangrove cedar trees, cannonball trees.
How old?
Well, I'd say this one on the left could be 100 years old. It's a very slow growing, dense wood tree. For me, it's one of the most interesting of all the mangroves. Shall we see if we can see some of the breathing roots?
Yes, let's.
Alright, so Bill, here's the breathing roots of the cannonball or cedar mangrove. These ones here, very sort of stout peg-like breathing roots. And here's some seeds I've collected from this same tree. So it's sometimes called puzzle mangrove because 4 or 5 of these fit in irregular seed shapes. 4 or 5 will fit into a green sphere or seed pod. Very difficult to put back together again. You can actually grow these in pots in your gardens. You don't need to add salt, and you can bring them out and transplant them into the mangroves later on.
On the Kulaluk Lease, with a caveat signed to Guello Investments.
So here's this chenier or bank of earth that's probably been washed up by a storm, maybe even a tsunami hundreds of years ago, maybe a very big cyclone. A tidal wave could have pushed up this bank of soil with detritus, made it nutritious, and then these are rainforests, monsoon vine forest type flora here.
And very large Abyssinia, what do you call it?
Yep, that's a large Abyssinia marina, a mangrove, with the remains of an even larger one next to it.
Cannonball, David?
Yep.
This is another cannonball mangrove.
Lots of breathing roots down the bottom. I think you can see the actual breathing roots from here.
The sun. Small breathing roots there. We're quite a way along the creek, heading towards Nightcliff. Still in the Kulaluk Lease.
So Ludmilla,
And the tide's coming out.
and the tide's coming up.
Yeah.
So Ludmilla and cannonball mangrove are what we call landward zone mangroves. They don't grow as close to the sea. You often find them on creeks rather than actually out to sea. The cannonball mangrove will grow in so-called groves of a few trees together, and quite often if a tree falls down, because of the dense quality of the wood, it'll stay in that same area next to the trees that it's created itself, the younger trees, for 100 years or more. And because the tide isn't very strong on the landward zone, the tide won't move the tree around very much. So you often find big dead mangrove trees, cedar mangrove, or as we say, cannonball mangrove, next to the live ones that it's created. Here's the hinge. This is a bivalve. You know, what did you call it, Bill? A mud mussel.
Yeah, I think they call it that.
And that would, when it was alive, that was quite a bit of food in there, really.
Mm. Here, the upper reaches.
Area.
What if the industrial subdivision is allowed to send their stormwater into here?
Well, you're going to end up polluting the mangroves, the sea. You're going to end up killing quite a lot of wildlife. And as mangroves are the nursery to fish and fishing grounds, you're really going to destroy a lot of wildlife. There's no way that you can tell me that an industrial development will not, at some time or other in the very close future, let poison out.
Not quite a nice shot today, ladies and gentlemen.
No one's been here to clean up. And plastic takes a long time to break down.
Here's the Ludmilla mangrove forest still, with the loop roots. Instead of ordinary breathing roots, they've got loop roots. You see them if you go a bit closer.
Just the interior,
Yeah, Ludmilla grow on the landward side.
So when you have forest and mangroves together, David, what would you call that?
Well, that's an ecotone. An ecotone is where two distinct habitats, or if you like, the boundary between two distinct habitats. In this case, a sort of dune forest, rainforest with a vine forest, joins here, right where we're standing, with the mangroves. And all that separates it is the actual elevation. If the salt water can get in, it stops the monsoon vine forest from growing, and so stops the competition, which allows the mangroves to grow. As simple as that. So this is a rainforest tree that's tumbled over, and it's still growing. Its roots are still connected, it's still growing, and this is a vertical branch that's come up from the main trunk as a result of the main trunk being horizontal. This branch is seeking the light. If you notice, it's covered in mosses, lichens, these pale patches. It's quite beautiful. It's got pale green lichen, it's got white patches on it, the dark green moss hanging off the main trunk. This has got the lot.
the forest in Coconut Grove, extending from Nightcliff to Ludmilla Creek, but not protected. In fact, it's part of the Guello caveat signed over by the leaseholders.
This is dense monsoon vine forest, but I don't know what these plants are surely introduced. Aren't these from people's gardens, have somehow proliferated here?
No, I don't think so.
Look at these. I'm sure that's not a native.
All struggling for the light. But the thing about these forests, they're deciduous, aren't they?
Some of the trees are deciduous. That means that the leaves will come off in June, July, but most of them aren't.
Yeah.
As you notice, there's a lot of leaf litter on the ground. Of course, the leaf litter provides nutrition for the trees and plants.
Yes.
For birds. This would be ideal for rainbow pitter, for scrub fowl, for emerald pigeon.